on The Phantom Menace.
Okay, so obviously you're a big Star Wars fan. You've watched The Phantom Menace multiple times. So, start up here is, what did you think when the senator says to kill the Jedi immediately when they show up in their ship?
Senator? Are you talking about Vice Gunroy?
The Vice Gunroy.
Yeah, Vice Gunroy, whatever.
Anyways.
Well, I think he wanted to kill the Jedi, probably, I don't know. Well, we learn his motivations later for killing the Jedi is because, like, he's later on a call with Darth Sidious, and Darth Sidious doesn't want the Jedi ruining his plans for the blockade, which was basically a power grab to gain sympathy in the Senate so he could become the counselor.
So, what did you think as Palpatine as senator? Obviously, we know he's evil.
Well, Palpatine as senator is actually, that was his original plan in life, mostly, until, like, Darth Plagueis kind of, like, corrupted him, and he used his rank as senator in the Senate, and he basically used that so that he could become the Grand Chancellor, because any senator can become the Grand Chancellor.
Oh, I see. So
by popular vote, and he got popular vote because of the sympathy from Naboo getting overrun by the Separatist Trade Federation. The Separatists haven't been founded yet.
So basically, he planned out his whole thing. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, he planned everything out, but, like, Anakin was just, like, that special bonus, because he was, like, super powerful, and Sidious kind of figured it out how to manipulate him. What we don't show is that in the 10 years between this movie and the other movie, Attack the Clones, is we don't see how Palpatine looked over Skywalker almost every moment of his training.
Okay. Further on in the movie, they encounter Jar Binks. Pretty weird dude. Weird character.
Well, he's kind of the comedic relief. He's more like the foil that makes Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan look good. Plus, it allows Qui-Gon to say the line, "The ability to speak does not make you intelligent." But Jar Jar is also helpful because he helps them hide from the Separatists. But, like, I can see why they would outcast him. He's just so klutzy. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he popped a few bubbles in Oath the Gungan.
Little cuckoo.
He's not cuckoo. He's just kind of dumb.
Okay, so it's ridiculous that they put these little things on and just swam down to the city. What do you think of that? That's just like...
Well, it looks better than wearing a giant bubble on your head like Mrs. Frizzle and the Magic School Bus.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so when they're going to the core deep, to the center of the core...
The planet core.
They go there and they see all these crazy, outrageous creatures. Thought they were pretty...
Well, yeah, to name, like, at least 3 of the creatures. The first one they encounter is the OPC killer. It's like this gigantic red half crab, half lobster fish thing with sharp teeth. And then they also encounter a Sando Aqua monster who technically saves them from the OPC killer. But, like, if he had seen them, they would have been dead meat. But he just grabbed that OPC killer, yeah. So, that was the Sando Aqua monster. They're, like, gigantic. But, like, there's even rumors of them, like, coming up to the surface and threatening Naboo people. And then the third one they encounter is the Kola Clawfish. And, well, actually, eating baby versions of that creature is supposedly a delicacy on other planets.
So, tying this back to Jar Jar, we see his character here too, where he's just like obviously screaming bloody murder when the fish are attacking them.
Well, I would scream bloody murder if I had seen something like about like that would probably eat. He would fit like nicely like 50 people in his mouth, like.
But Obi-Wan and them, they stayed like perfect composure. They were fine.
They're Jedi. They've been trained to keep composure their whole life. If Jedi didn't keep composure, they would end up all like Anakin.
So they're the fake queen, so she stays safe. What do you think?
Well, I think that's pretty clever because it draws the attention away from the real queen. Like the real queen has the actual power. Sabe has no power whatsoever. So even if they had forced Sabe, her handmaiden, to write out that treaty, it wouldn't have been valid at all.
Oh, I see. Because it was the okay. R2-D2 saves the day with the hyperdrive.
Well, I think that's a great introduction of R2-D2. Because, like, basically from the very beginning, he's like a survivor. Because, like, he's like the only astromech that survives, like, the Battle of Yavin. He's the only astromech to survive, like, well, almost practically the Clone Wars, except in the Bad Batch, we see some of the other astromechs that Ahsoka met in, like, Season 7 are, like, still alive.
Okay, when they get to Tatooine and everything, and then Quinlan Voss, you can see him in the background when Sabal fights with Jar Jar.
Sebulba.
The
Doug. We actually go to the planet Doug, and then that's where the Zillo Beast was. But Quinlan Voss is actually there because of his retrocognitive abilities. He would go undercover in situations like criminal worlds, like Tatooine and Ryloth, which is actually where he found Ayla Secura, who actually appears in the second episode.
Okay, and then we have the classic R2-D2 meets C-3PO. The first time for a long friendship.
Well, I'd say the initial meeting is basically the same as it was as we see them in, like, the episode 4, A New Hope. It's basically the same kind of banter they have, like, oh, you said this, you said something insulting. It's always R2 insulting C-3PO and C-3PO insulting R2. Personally, I think R2-D2 is, like, the smartest. It's like, C-3PO is just too dang snobby.
Okay, so they meet young Anakin. He talks about leaving when Watto, the owner, could blow them up at any time.
Yeah, so when Anakin first takes them home to hide out from the sandstorm, they kind of skip ahead in a few scenes, but we catch a casual conversation that they're having that turns talking about, like, the chips that are implanted in slaves when they are born. And, like, Shmi was also a slave, so they all had the chips. So, Anakin also has this chip, and he also describes how the chip is, boom, blows you up. So, at any point in time, Watto could have blown him up at the pod race, and he would have won the bet.
Which is funny, but I don't know. Okay. When we were watching the movie, you asked how Darth Maul knew how they were on Tatooine.
Yeah, we don't really know how Darth Maul knew they were on Tatooine because, like, the Trade Federation's literally like, they're out of our reach. And, like, Senator Palpatine isn't even with them when they're traveling to Coruscant. He's over on Coruscant, and they're basically just sitting out in the middle of a planet that is controlled by Hutts, mind you, who don't really like a lot of visitors. So I think one visitor they maybe wave off, but like, but I mean, it's a big spaceport, so hundreds of ships are coming in at a time, and I don't think you would be able to, like, it would take hours to, like, search through ship codes just to find that particular ship.
Maybe it's just his
Sith sense?
Yeah.
Sith sense.
Okay.
Instead of a sixth sense, they have a Sith.
So when Anakin's going into the race, Padme is the only one who notices...
Actually doubts, because she, like, basically acts, you haven't won a single race? And Anakin's like, yeah, but I'm pretty confident I will. Does that instill confidence that you're ever getting back to Coruscant to even think about making up a resistance to fight against the Trade Federation?
Okay, and then,
not to mention, Sebulba keeps sabotaging him.
Okay, so we'll go to that now. So Bulba, we see him sabotage the ship. He literally comes up to him and says, "You're not gonna make it out of this one."
He probably should have double checked his ship if you're getting threatening messages from a dung like that. And Also, we could see he probably sabotaged several of the other ships, but sabotage doesn't really matter at this point because pod racing officials on Tatooine basically will look the other way if you give them enough credits. And I'm pretty sure Sebulba, from all the past races he's cheated in, have won him credits.
Okay, and we see when they're going down the desert, we see Aura Singh, or
Aura Singh.
Aura Singh.
She actually appears in the Clone Wars, where one time she has a personal. She somehow gets a personal vendetta against Ahsoka, so she does try to kill Padme. But I would suggest that maybe they did send out bounty hunters, so maybe that was how they found out they were on Tatooine because bounty hunters basically serve no one. If you give them credits, they'll do anything for you. Hide muscle, assassinations, tracking down things. So, or it could have been Maul also may have made some deals or... I mean, Palpatine does have a lot of money.
And they go to the ship and Obi-Wan calls Anakin a pathetic life form.
Yes, it seems we are picking up another pathetic life form. He's referencing Jar Jar in this point, but...
Could that be foreshadowing his evilness?
No, it's just Anakin is a little boy. He is technically pathetic. With his, relationship with Padme in, the second one, we show how pathetic he really is. I hate sand.
Okay,
it's basically what he does.
Then, speaking of Anakin, he's flirting with Padme. He's 9, she's 14. What's going on there?
This is severe underage stuff, and there is no, consent here, really. He's just, staring at her the whole time. And it's just... It's kind of weird. And, how he's always dragging her along and this and that. Ridiculous.
Yeah, you gotta have some romance somewhere. So,
Well, they're literally the whole point Luke and Leia are alive. Yeah, he gave practically liquid alive.
Okay, so they talk about the prophecy of the Chosen One, but where did that even come from?
Yeah, I suppose maybe some time ago some Jedi had some fancy vision / dream, because always having visions. I mean, Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back has this whole vision of Han, Leia, and stuff, and that's the whole reason he goes to save it. So, but I mean. So is the Chosen One, supposed to, be the ultimate Jedi? Or is, it a really, one of those really vague prophecies that are oh yeah, and the Jedi assume, oh yeah, he's gonna be a great Jedi.
When he turns out to be Darth Vader.
Yes.
Okay, so, you pointed out when Qui-Gon said, I will do what I must to Obi-Wan.
So, yeah, well... There's not much to say about this, but, except for the fact that Obi-Wan, in the, one of the duels for the Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan just, ignites his lightsabers. I will do what I must. He literally does that at the beginning of the fight with Anakin.
And you were talking about how Mace Windu had some discipline.
Mace Windu had discipline?
Yeah,
well, he was very disciplined, which is technically why he's, he could replace Yoda. If Yoda was ever, killed, he could always become the next Grand Master. But, I guess you could say Samuel Jackson always plays these really serious characters. He's basically the Nick Fury of Star Wars, because they're both played by the same actor.
Okay, and then the battle. Obviously, we see Jar Jar Binks again being so dumb he can't even throw the orb or whatever.
Yeah, he has no battle strength or strategic intellect. I probably would have listened more to the general that was literally at his side. I mean, you just we're gonna promote Jar Jar to general even though he has no prior experience and is a klutz. He is an unqualified general. And technically, the whole retreat thing, I mean, the Gungans were terrible under Jar Jar's leadership.
Yeah.
I think they could have made a more decisive strike with a decisive general.
Jesus. Okay,
It's probably some stupid heroic bravery thing.
I call this part, Anakin's intrusive thoughts. He gets in the pod racer and flies out and decides, oh, I'll just go help the guys up in space.
Oh yeah, no, it's like he's awkwardly just like pressing random buttons, and Qui-Gon's like, stay right here. And like, I think by extension that would mean don't touch anything in the dang starship. Spinning is a good trick. Spinning did nothing to help win the odds of the fight. Spinning does nothing. It's useless. It's basically like a little children's toy that you wind up and let it go spinning round.
Okay. Fight between Maul and the Jedis. They obviously occupied themselves.
Jedi. It's like deer. When you say deer when there's multiple deer. So Jedis. No Jedis. Jedi.
Okay.
Just the Jedi. The Jedi Order,
Yeah,
not the Jedi's Order.
Okay, so what did you think about that battle?
It's a pretty climatic battle, but there's also the name of the scene is called Duel of the Fates. It's basically dueling for the fate of Anakin, because it's basically whoever dies in this fight is probably going to become Anakin's master.
Which is what we see. And
Yeah. Plus, it's also the duel of the fate. It also ends in the fate, Qui-Gon Jinn. Yeah.
so obviously they're Jedi and they have superhuman abilities. They were at it for like 20 minutes, just back and forth, some slashing and bashing.
That I wouldn't say that is 20 minutes. I mean, it blends in with other aspects of the film, so I'd say that duel took maybe about like 10 minutes.
No.
But in real life, it might have been like hours. But like Qui-Gon is like so meditative, whereas Maul is always pacing around, and I feel like Obi-Wan's kind of a bit of both. He has sort of the impatience of Maul, but he's a pretty good Jedi. Obi-Wan is a pretty decent Jedi. Plus, he totally one-ups Maul for a while until he gets distracted and Maul pushes him off the ledge. But then he uses his master lightsaber and he basically backflips over Maul and slices him in half. And Darth Maul falls down the shaft. But, of course, as if anyone's watched the Clone Wars, that's not the last we see of Maul.
Okay, we're gonna wrap the Phantom Menace up
But,
with this
I mean,
last question.
Maul has killed so many people that Obi-Wan loved. Well, actually, 2 people. Qui-Gon and Satine.
For sure. I'm gonna wrap it up with this last question. What could they have changed to make this whole movie better?
I think they could have made Anakin a little less whiny, because he sounds so whiny all the time. Oh, well, I'm sorry, C-3PO. I don't think I'll be able to finish you. His voice sounds so whiny, it sounds like he's just being so mean. So, yeah, I think just make Anakin a little less whiny, and also, I want more Maul scenes. Because, like, Darth Maul never gets enough scenes in that movie.
What did you like about the movie?
What did I like about the movie? I particularly like about the movie was probably the fact that I think things were set up well, but, like, the story wasn't really executed that perfectly. I think my favorite part about the movie is the idea of the Trade Federation and all these large-scale galactic centers, like senators. That just basically introduces us to the prequels.
Alright, so, guys,
And it also introduces us to Edmund McGregor.
that's the end of our discussion, and we'll just do a little of this here.
Force is strong with this one.
Okay, we'll see you guys.